Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the event will begin shortly. Please be seated and kindly set your phones to silent mode throughout the event. Your cooperation is highly appreciated. Thank you. Kepada peserta yang memerlukan khidmat terjemahan serentak seminar ke Bahasa Melayu, anda boleh mendapatkan peralatan terjemahan di kaunter pendaftaran. Anda diminta memulangkan semula peralatan tersebut apabila meninggalkan Dewan. Terima kasih. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated because the event will begin shortly. Thank you. Mengumumkan ketibaan Yang Berhormat Datuk Muhammad Arif Mat Yusof Yang di-Pertua Dewan Rakyat. Hadirin diminta untuk terus berdiri bagi menyanyikan lagu Negaraku. Please remain standing for the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Majlis mengucapkan selamat datang dan mengalu-alukan kehadiran para hadirin ke program Women's Political Leadership Creating Positive Change hari ini. Program ini bertujuan untuk mengukuhkan jalinan hubungan kepakaran berkenaan kesaksamaan gender dan juga kepimpinan wanita dalam politik dengan semua peserta program ini. Saya memohon izin untuk meneruskan acara hari ini dalam bahasa Inggeris. Please allow me to continue in English. His Excellency Datuk Muhammad Arif Mat Yusof, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Her Excellency Vicky Tridell, British High Commissioner to Malaysia, Honourable Richard Graham, Chair for the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Honourable Rushanara Ali, Vice Chair for the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Honourable Hannah Yeoh, Deputy Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, Honourable Datuk Sri Shamsul Iskandar Muhammad Akin, Deputy Minister of Primary Industries and the Chair for CPA Malaysia, Honourable Members of Parliament, members from the Diplomatic Corps, friends from the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Parliament of Malaysia, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all participants to this Asia Regional Conference. Today's agenda shall begin with welcoming remarks from Honourable Hannah Yeoh, Deputy Minister of Women, Family and Community Development. Please welcome.
Very good morning to His Excellency Datuk Muhammad Arif bin Muhammad Yusof, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Parliament of Malaysia. Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Shamsul Iskandar, Deputy Minister of Primary Industries and Chair for the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Honourable Richard Graham, Chair for the Westminster Foundation for Democracy. Honourable Rushanara Ali, Member of Parliament and also Vice Chair of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy. Her Excellency Vicky Tridell, British High Commissioner to Malaysia, Ms. Shannon O'Connell, Senior Gender Advisor, Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Your Excellency, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, distinguished delegation members, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank the Westminster Foundation for Democracy and the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Malaysia, who under the Commonwealth Partnership for Democracy and with the support of the British High Commission have put together this esteemed event, the Asia Regional Conference on Women's Political Participation and Leadership Creating Positive Change. On behalf of Malaysia, we welcome every one of you, our distinguished delegation members to Malaysia and also to this Asia Regional Conference. Greetings to all those that have travelled from far and near to participate in this conference. I've been informed that there are representatives from across Asia, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, India, Tunisia and the UK. Over the next 2 days, much will be deliberated both in session and also in the corridors of this Parliament to further strengthen the national, regional and global expert networks on women political leadership and gender equality. There is much that we can learn from one another to be able to identify and strengthen key policy opportunities in our respective national scene to move forward towards effective implementation and transformation to support the progression of women's political participation and leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, just allow me to share with you some statistics in Malaysia. In Malaysia, there is no legal discrimination against a person based upon gender with respect to participating in the electoral process and holding elected offices. Malaysian women are conferred with the right to vote since independence in 1957. Therefore, women in Malaysia are not prohibited from participating in election at any level of office and are free to participate in political movements. However, the reality, women are still underrepresented in the political sphere. Presently in Malaysia, there are 32 women out of 222 members in the House of Representatives. That's 14.41%, far from 30%. and 13 women out of 67 in the Senate. That's 19.4%. Meanwhile, there are 57 women out of 505 members in the state legislative assemblies across Malaysia. That's only 11.3%. And currently, we have 5 women ministers out of 28 ministers. That's 17.86%. And 4 women deputy ministers out of 27 deputy ministers, 14.81%. So across board, we are below 20% in Malaysia at every level. Further, for the first time in Malaysian history, the Deputy Prime Minister is a woman, the Honourable Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Azizah binti Wan Ismail, who also carries the portfolio as Minister for Women, Family and Community Development. Women in decision-making in Malaysia, women representation at boardrooms of the top 100 public listed companies stands at 23% as of third quarter last year, as compared to only 19% in 2017. In addressing the issue of underrepresentation of women at the decision-making level, the policy of at least 30% participation of women in decision-making positions at all levels was adopted by the government on 4th August 2004. This policy is an effort to reduce the gender imbalance at the decision-making level and serves as a starting point for the recognition of women's significant contribution to the public sector. There has been positive advancement towards achieving the policy target, as women in the top management position in the public sector have increased from 18.8% in 2004 to 36.1% in June 2018 last year. However, the private sector remains comparatively low. Now, I'm very mindful that if we want to increase women participation in politics or in the workforce, the support structure must be there, the net must be there. And this is where the challenge lies, because not many people want to talk about it. But me, as a mother of 2 young girls, and being active in Malaysian politics in Parliament, I understand the challenges on a day-to-day basis. Every time Parliament is extended to a night sitting till evening, I have to ensure there's somebody at home looking after my 2 girls. And that's where the challenge is, really, to encourage young women to enter the workforce, and in politics, you have to ensure that they receive the necessary support. So I'm going to I know we have many people giving their speeches, so I'm just going to cut this short by just explaining to you where we are in terms of providing that safety net or that infrastructure for Malaysian women to thrive in politics and also in the labour force. Everywhere in Malaysia, across Malaysia, we have a lack of childcare support. And we have done an audit last year when we took over government. We have conducted an audit across Malaysia. We issued a circular to all government agencies. We say you have to provide childcare support for your staff by 1st January this year, 2019. And when 1st January came, we then conducted an audit to find out which agency has not done so. And the reports that came back, we have more than 500 government agencies across Malaysia without childcare support, without childcare facilities. Now, there are 2 reasons. One is because the location where they are is just not suitable. The second one is just the lack of budget. The lack of budget, I think we can overcome if we are creative, if we have the willpower, and I'm glad that we have the cooperation of the Speaker of this House, and they have committed to provide childcare for the women MPs and also for the staff here. And my ministry and Parliament will work together to see how we can provide. This is the first place across the nation where if we want to make it happen, it has to happen first in Parliament. And so this year we hope to make it happen. And for the first time in Malaysian history, 10 million ringgit has been set aside, given to provide as a startup grant for government agencies to provide childcare facilities. Now, if we can roll this out, all other efforts can fall into place. I've just traveled to the UK, thanks to the British High Com here, to look at their model of sustaining childcare industry in UK. And my conclusion is it cannot happen without the support and without subsidy from the government. So this is where we have to fight it out end of this year when we table our next budget to ensure that childcare is no longer seen, childcare industry is no longer seen as a babysitting industry, but as the driving force to keep women in politics and also in labor force. So with that, I hope you have a successful, fruitful discussion today and tomorrow, and I hope that the ideas that we receive from today will make Malaysia a better place for women, not just Malaysia, but all the other nations that are represented here today. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. We now would like to invite Honorable Datuk Sri Shamsul Iskandar, Deputy Minister of Primary Industries and the Chair for CPA Malaysia, to deliver his remarks. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Datuk Muhammad Arif Muhammad Yusof, Speaker of the Dewan Rakyat, Malaysian Parliament, Honorable Richard Graham, Chair of Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Honorable Rushanara Ali, Vice Chair of Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Her Excellency Vicky Treadle, British High Com to Malaysia, my colleague, Honorable Hannah Yeoh, Deputy Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, members of Diplomatic Corps, friends from media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Organizing Committee for making this important and timely leadership program reality. It is indeed scintillating to note that since 2018, Commonwealth Parliamentary for Democracy has been working with the parliaments of 18 Commonwealth member states from the Horn of Africa to the Straits of Malacca to improve the representation of women, young people, the disabled and other underrepresented communities, and to raise their profiles as equal members of society. In this effort, a series of Commonwealth Parliamentary for Democracy activities will be held across 4 continents with the aim of improving parliamentary standards, solidifying democratic values that not only protect but also empower women, youth, and other minorities. I think the ultimate goal is not only to give voice to the voiceless, but to give a platform, and such a voice that they may finally be heard over the throng of a patriarchal society and establishment that has silenced them for so long. It is in light of this great vision that 4 august bodies, the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the UK branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and the Commonwealth Local Government Forum, came together to forge the initiative that we call today the Commonwealth Parliamentary for Democracy. This initiative, I believe, has only one goal in mind: to create level playing field in order for female leaders to rise by way of developing equality-driven political strategy and legislation in all participating states, and by providing training, sponsorship, and networking for the women in the member states. In Malaysia, a country that has not seen female head of state nor head of government in living history, women are now living and breathing a different air under the Pakatan Harapan government, which has elected Malaysia's first female deputy prime minister. We certainly don't want to lose our Singaporean neighbor who has elected their first female president. Perhaps in the future, we may have a more female governor or chief minister once we have a level playing field. Malaysian elected female members of the House of Representatives, or Dewan Rakyat, should now be given bigger stage to dance. Their appearance in politics should not be underestimated, with the cliché perception that women politicians can only lead or hold portfolios that relate to women affairs. Regardless of political sentiments, the new Malaysia needs more female political leaders who can be as great as male ones in molding the betterment of our nation. Maybe we can have more Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in Malaysia, who is unapologetically loud and unabashedly frank. And so today, we begin our struggle towards ending male privilege and gender bias and coercion against women in politics. It is my earnest wish that we will be able to resolve these issues, or at least make some headway into resolving them. Our conference shall provide space where we can have critical discourse on the following. First, shifting attitudes around women's political leadership and involvement in decision-making processes, offering politically active women practical skills, information and opportunities that they can use and apply in their own settings through sharing of experiences, and initiating dialogue which incorporates types of strategies, approaches women can use to support natural progression of women's political participation and leadership. With that word, I wish you all the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we would like to invite Honorable Richard Graham to deliver his speech. Your Honorable, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And for everyone from Malaysia here today, selamat pagi. There are so many distinguished guests this morning, so many excellencies, so many deputy ministers, that to go through a long list would take quite a lot of time. But I want to especially single out today our hosts, His Excellency the Speaker, Dato' Arif, and our two deputy ministers, Yang Berhormat Hana and Shamsul. I want to thank them particularly because we wouldn't be here today without the support of Malaysia. We wouldn't be in Parliament without the support of the Speaker. And I think we have just heard one of the most inspiring introductions to any session on women's participation in politics from Deputy Minister Hannah Yeoh that I've ever heard. So, ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in congratulating her in what she's doing in this Parliament today? I think this is an incredibly important session, and you know, there is a danger in any man talking at this event of either what is now called mansplaining or virtue signalling and stressing our support for women's participation in politics. But these things are incredibly important. And I want to share with you at the beginning one tiny experience of my own, which is I have an apprentice, every year a new apprentice who does a business administration qualification and works for me for 1 year in my constituency, and they stay with me until they've moved on to another and better job. And one of these, my second apprentice, became the youngest ever city councillor in my constituency of Gloucester, which is a small city in England, aged 21. And so what Laura has achieved already, and she's now aged about 24, is just one small example of what every one of us can do, which is to help an inspiring young woman into democracy and politics and help make a difference. And so this program, which is and there are lots of acronyms here today, but the CP4D, the Commonwealth Partnership for Democracy, is a project by the British government during our years as chair of the Commonwealth, and it's organised by the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, which I have the honour of chairing for the time being, and I'm absolutely delighted that our Vice Chairman, Rushanara Ali, Member of Parliament in London, is here today and will be speaking tonight at supper. And Rushanara is the person you want to listen to, because what she has achieved in politics and with her constituents is much more remarkable than anything I can tell you about. I also want to thank today the organisers, particularly Sophia, Sonia and Usha. And I know that Shannon O'Connell, who I think is behind me here, who is going to be your sort of organiser, the senior gender advisor to WFD, Shannon I've seen in action with lots of people from lots of countries, and I know that she will help bring this alive for all of you. And the experiences of Mayor Rosie, where are you, from Colombo, who has arrived, I think, with an eye injury, but recovered miraculously quickly in the way of resilient women. And those of you from Pakistan, India, Tunisia, there are lots of stories to share, as well as all around Malaysia. And I know we've got speakers and representatives from Sabah and I think Sarawak, as well as the mainland. So this is going to be an exciting session. I hope that you'll all share your own stories and talk about what positive action can lead to. I haven't yet had the chance to meet you, madam, but Maria Chin Abdullah has her own remarkable story and spent, I think, 18 days, 11 days under arrest through old Colonial Sedition Act. And I think the High Commissioner of Swaziland may be here as well. If she is, I know she has her own remarkable stories to share. And I hope that between you all, there will come some great energy out of all of this. One of my former colleagues from London, Margaret Curran, is here at the back, who held ministerial jobs in the Scottish Parliament and was Shadow Secretary of State on the opposition benches for, I think, most of 5 years. Margaret I last saw really when we were being stoned by some young Palestinian boys in Hebron in Israel. And I know that she's one of the most resilient women I've ever met. There are lots of you with your own stories, and I hope that today will provide an opportunity to talk about not just changing laws and policies and minds and beliefs, but also sort of attitudes and how people see women in politics and in democracy, because you bring so much to it. Any of us men who've had the fortune to work alongside women, and I have the great fortune at the moment of having a most resilient female Prime Minister who has shown her own courage and determination under huge pressure and stress, and frankly often from rather tiresome male contributions to the debate. So we know that women have a huge amount to offer. And I know that the Malaysian speaker, Datuk Arif, who I think, if you don't mind me, Mr. Speaker, I would describe as a quiet but determined reformist, is bringing change into the Malaysian Parliament. We heard Minister Hannah talk about the changes to childcare, which are absolutely crucial. And we don't pretend that we've got childcare completely right in the UK. It's constantly something that's evolving, but you're right, Deputy Minister, you're absolutely right that it does need to be funded and stimulated by government from the top. And all those changes you're doing with childcare here in Parliament, something we went through a few years ago with our Speaker, these are really worthwhile things that make a difference to people's lives. So with those comments, just to welcome you all to what I think will be an incredibly exciting event here in the heart of the Malaysian Parliament. Thank you all so much. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much. We now would like to invite His Excellency Datuk Mohammad Arif Mat Yusof, Speaker of the House of Representatives, to deliver his remarks. Please welcome Your Excellency.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And a very good day to all present here. The Honorable Puan Hannah Yeoh, Deputy Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, the Honorable Datuk Sri Shamsul Iskandar Makin, Deputy Minister of Primary Industries and the Chair for CPA Malaysia, the Honorable Richard Graham, MP, Chairman of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, UK, the Honorable Roshana Ali, Vice Chair of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, UK, Her Excellency Vicky Treador, the British High Commissioner to Malaysia, and I won't do it the Malaysian way, and to prolong the introduction, let me say, welcome everyone, all honorable members of Parliament who are here and everyone else, diplomatic corps, academia and so on. And my lords, ladies and gentlemen, as the British would say. Now, on behalf of the Dewan Rakyat, that is to say the Malaysian House of Representatives, it is my great pleasure to extend to you a very warm warm welcome to this significant event and to share with us the ambience of this hall, which is not exactly the Hall of Parliament. This is the temporary hall, we call it. This is where the MPs used to sit when the present hall was undergoing renovation. But we welcome you here. I'm very proud of the fact that we can invite everyone to be here to share the ambience of Parliament. I think it lends a bit of seriousness to the discussions at hand. Of course, in Parliament, we are deeply honored to have your collective expertise here, and for ladies and gentlemen who are here to have accepted our invitation to share your experience in this regional conference on women's political leadership, creating positive change. So thank you again for taking the time to be present with us today. I'm sure we will benefit a great deal from the wealth of expertise and experience that you can bring to bear today and tomorrow. It is gratifying to note that the agenda of this conference covers a wide range of very interesting topics relating to gender equality and women's empowerment. This conference is in fact very timely and pertinent to us in Malaysia, because currently Parliament is more diverse in terms of political parties represented and the greater level of representation from the ladies as well. So this gives us a unique opportunity to gain an insight into global developments. The objective of this seminar, again, is very much in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, in which goal number 5 of the SDGs aim to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls by 2030. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to bring the stage a little bit nearer to home, that is in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, let me just say this, make this observation. Women have enjoyed a relatively high status in pre-colonial Southeast Asia, and this is still evident not only among some lay women in the 20th century in Peninsular Malaysia, but is reflected throughout Asia today. Hence the talk about the resilience of the Asian female in a leadership position. Traditionally, it has always been so. Empirical research, including ethnographic studies of gender roles in rural villages and demographic surveys, show that women were often economically active in agricultural production and trade, and I can perhaps provide the classic example of our northern state of Kelantan, where women traditionally, until today, have become a very powerful element in trade and commerce, sometimes at the expense of the husbands who normally sit at the back whilst they do the trade. That shows women's empowerment in a graphic way. In the book on Women, Politics and Change, Lena Manderson stated emphatically that the inspiration for her study was a comment by British journalists that the participation of Malay women in rallies, demonstrations, and the nationalist movement during the late 1940s was the most remarkable feature of post-World War II Malay politics. These women's roles were described by her as challenging, dominant, and vehement in their emergence from mere quiet roles in the kampongs, rice fields, the kitchens, and nurseries. That was a start in a big way, and until today, women in Malaysian politics have played a very significant role in the development of this country. The mention of Kaum Ibu evokes so much respect until today. Transcends all political parties, be it Barisan Nasional or Pakatan Harapan. Women tend to be a driving force in politics. Now, ladies and gentlemen, quite evidently, talking about Malaysia, women in Malaysia have made leaps and bounds in the arena of politics, economics, civil service, science, research, and the list goes on and on and on. Continuously upgrading and improving and increasing the percentages. Yang berhormat Hanayo just mentioned some good statistics. As of now, 22% of board membership of the top 100 PLCs comprised of ladies, which is a fantastic leap from 17% just a few years ago. Now it's 22%, which is very, very good, I think. In no time at all, we'll attain 30%. Touch wood, 30%, I think is within target. Now, of course, women in Malaysia have been at the cutting edge of scientific research, for instance. I mean, on topics such as study on the gravitational waves and of some black hole theory, which I cannot half understand or don't understand at all. But we have them at the cutting edge, and women have soared to the skies. We have the first MiG-29 pilot, I think the first in the world probably, a lady pilot, a Malaysian lady from Sandakan, Major Yap, who's an MiG-29 fighter pilot. That's something which we are proud of. So that shows that there's nothing that the ladies cannot achieve. And women are there, and the men, I suppose, will be lending a hand, and we'll be promoting the advancement of ladies in Parliament as well. We have established a special select committee on gender equality, specifically to handle gender issues in Parliament, and headed, of course, by a lady. Now, Yang Berhormat Hannah Yeoh, Honorable Hannah Yeoh, has mentioned some statistics on the representation in the legislatures. I will not repeat it, but 14% in the Dewan Rakyat is pretty good. 20-odd% in the Dewan Negara is a vast improvement too. So we are working on it. It's a work in progress. And as of now, we have so many deputy ministers and ministers who are female. And of course, as Hannah Yeoh has mentioned, we have Deputy Prime Minister herself. She's female. So that has not happened in Malaysia until the Pakatan Harapan government took over. Good sign. Maybe we'll wait for the day when we have a female Prime Minister in common with other Asian countries and the UK. That will come, I think it's a matter of time. Now, we were looking at statistics on improvement, incremental improvement, but we have to look at it also from the perspective of the global percentages. The IPU has done some study on it. 78% of parliamentarians are women. This is on the global basis. 93% elected heads of states are still men. 78% of parliamentarians are still men. 82% of government ministers and 95% of corporate executives are men. So looking at it in a global perspective, we in Malaysia have not done that badly. You know? We'll still achieve, we'll try and achieve more and aim at the 30% in the near term. Thus, surely we need more women to hold key leadership positions and as decision makers in social, political, and economic areas. And political accountability to women begins with increasing the number of women in decision-making positions, but it should not stop there. What is required is gender-sensitive governance reform that will make all elected officials more effective at promoting gender equality in public policy and ensuring their implementation. We have a population of 32.4 million in Malaysia, out of which 15.66 million, corresponding to 48.1%, being female. So that's a large segment of society that needs to be addressed. And of course, we cannot but help to be sensitive and responsive to the voices of women as enshrined in Article 8(1) of the Federal Constitution, that every person shall be equal under the law and have equal protection of the law. That is the law, but I think a lot more work needs to be done beyond the legal requirement. I have already mentioned that here in Parliament, we do realize and appreciate the importance of women's development. We have formed the Special Select Committee on Rights and Gender Equality, and that signifies our commitment to accelerate changes in Parliament, to facilitate women's participation and promote a gender-sensitive environment within the precinct of our Parliament. So, to end my brief introduction, I look forward to your active participation in this conference. I believe the collective eminent presence will bring significant changes to address the issue of gender equality and women's empowerment. I hope this conference will serve as an eye-opener for leaders to place more women as genuine decision makers in all spheres of activity. So I certainly will look forward to hearing the discussions, and I'm sure it's going to be a very fruitful one for all of us who are present here today and the society at large, who will be following this, no doubt, with a great deal of interest. So thank you very much for your attention. And again, welcome to Parliament of Malaysia. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Next, we would like to invite Shannon O'Connell, Senior Gender Advisor of Westminster Foundation for Democracy, and Ivy Josia to talk about the objectives of this program. Please welcome.
Thank you. Testing. Yeah, we're the singing duo.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Good? Happy to be here? Very good. We're happy you're here too. My name's Shannon O'Connell. I'm the Senior Gender Advisor with the Westminster Foundation, which is the best job in the world. Right. I have the pleasure every day of my life of connecting the two most powerful entities in the world, which are women in politics. So that's what we're going to do here today and tomorrow. I'm going to tell you, Ivy and I are going to tell you a little bit about that before we do. Ivy.
No, I was just going to say, hello everyone, I'm Ivy, and Ivy Josia, and I'm from the women's groups, as some of you all know. I'm from the Malaysian Women's Groups, and I'm the co-facilitator with Shannon. I think before we start our exercise, I wanted to just say I'm glad to hear YB Shamsul, and of course, YB Hannah has given us what exactly are the statistics like. And before all the YBs leave the space, when I look at my friends out there, my friends from women's groups, from academia, from media, I see you sitting in this space as members of parliament. So we're going to do this, people. We're going to do this. Come on, Liana and everyone, all the young ones. I really hope we can see this happening. So we have to take your word, YB Shamsul. We're going to make sure that more women are running at all levels, including local council. So I have to put that pitch in. So it's so good to see all of you sitting so comfortably. It sits well.
So
right.
Can we start by thanking all of you for your leadership on this very important issue, and everyone else who is here, the clerk who is here. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for your leadership. Can we thank Lavinia and Nural and the parliamentary team here who are so professional and have been so wonderful at helping us organize this, and of course the British High Commission. So we've heard bits about gender equality, how it fits in Malaysia, how it fits in a more global picture. We're going to be exploring some of the more emerging research and information about this, because what we've known for a long time, right? We've known this for a long time, but now we've got the evidence behind it. The fact is that gender equality and the pursuit of gender equality is not a luxury. It's not a nice extra. It's not what you do after you've taken care of the important things, right? What we know is that a political party, a political organization, a coalition cannot govern and lead, and I include being in opposition. You cannot govern and lead without gender diversity. It cannot happen. As the Speaker will know from his days with the Securities Exchange Commission and some of the failures that we saw with the banking system in 2007, the banks that survived because they were able to manage risk and plan over the long term had one dominant characteristic, which was gender diversified boards and decision making. And we're going to talk a little bit about how some of those dynamics live in politics as well. So we can let go of the idea that this is a luxury. It is an essential. So over the course of our time together, in these 2 days, we are going to work on that very essential piece of politics and piece of policy. The busiest people in the world are women. Who are even busier than that? Politically active women. Women who are politically active are in official office. They are also politically active as community leaders, civil society leaders, and academics. So we already know that everybody in this room, you're the busiest people walking the planet. So we're going to do everything we can to make this time as meaningful to you as possible. This is a living laboratory. Our objectives are, first of all, to explore. Right? We're going to go through 4 verbs. These are the 4 verbs we're going to live through today and tomorrow. To explore living case studies of efforts to advance gender equality. Right? This is a complex, we've made this complex. What are some of the living examples of how we can progress specific issues or specific aspects of gender equality? So we're going to be looking for new information and areas for learning. Because when it comes to this type of work, every day is a school day, right? Every day is a day to learn something new. And we're going to be looking at strategies that can be adapted to our own realities. So some of this stuff will be global. Thank you, Sonia. But we're going to find ways where we can take maybe some case studies from other situations and adapt them to the local context. Okay, we are also going to discuss and identify policy areas that are ripe for progress here in Malaysia and throughout the Commonwealth. We're in this together, right? We are going to construct shared action points towards implementation. How do we progress this within the realities of our own context? And strategies to recruit allies and transform opposition. Yeah, opposition. We're going to be talking about that one, where it comes from, why it's there, and what we can do to work with folks who feel that they are in opposition to what we're trying to achieve. Okay, and finally, to build and strengthen regional and global expert networks on gender equality and women's political leadership. There are thousands of years of expertise in this room, and we're going to make sure that we tap into that, we connect it, and we benefit from it, okay? So day 1 today, we've had some very good vision setting from our opening speakers. We're going to look by opening our living laboratory. This morning we're going to explore some case studies, successes, failures, and what we learned from both of those. We're going to explore and we're going to adapt those a little bit, right? We're going to have the chance to hear about them and also to play with them a little bit. And from there, we're going to see what we can do to build a common agenda. Where are we seeing dominant trends? Where are we seeing lessons that make sense to us? Where are we seeing new ideas that we can adapt to our realities? And to begin to build our networks even further. And then tomorrow, we are going to focus largely on Malaysia, looking at new information in terms of the work that's being done on gender equality here, action planning, and trying to identify areas that are ready for special attention or that need urgent attention, and figure out how collectively we can progress those. Tomorrow we're also going to do something else. So I do 3 things. I help women decide that they want to be politically active, whatever that means for them. It can mean anything, right? Then, those who are ready to stand for office, I help them get elected. I love that part. And then, once they're in office, I help them get reelected, because that's the tricky bit, staying in, right? So, I have learned that you should never leave a gathering of women who have raised their hand for leadership, right? That's you. That's everybody in this room. Without giving them something they can use in that effort. So tomorrow, during the breaks, we have a professional photographer coming in. And the professional photographer will be here to take headshots, professional headshots. Roshanar and I recently worked on a gathering, a historic gathering at the UK House of Commons of women MPs from all around the world, It was to mark the centenary of the beginning of women's suffrage in the UK. And they had some really good advice. So these were women from over 100 countries. And one of the things they said was, build your profile and build it fast. So this photograph is something that you can take with you to add to your profile. It goes on your social media profile, it goes on some printed materials. You can use it to help build your profile, right? So a little bit of practical use along with all the hard work around gender equality. So we'll tell you a bit more about how that is going to work. Also, my colleagues have asked me to let you know that translation is available if you're less comfortable operating in English, so that if you need a headset, they are available right outside the door, right? And I think that's it for the housekeeping. Okay, so I believe there's over 100 people in this room. It's a pretty good network. Might take a bit of time to do introductions, so we thought we would try something else. Ivy and I have a very small gift for you. Excuse us. Sonia, could you grab this one? So in each of these parcels are some pieces of chocolate. Could I ask you please, as my colleagues come around, to take your favorite type, just one at this point. If there's any left over, we'll make sure that you get another one. But if you don't mind, if you could hold on for just a minute, don't eat it quite yet. Not yet. Not yet. Don't eat. Hold on just a minute. You can eat it in just a minute. Just it's not breakfast. It's not big enough to be breakfast. It's good, huh? Gender, chocolate. Can't get, that's like a good combination, right? This is a lovely room. It's very good for debating. I imagine it's pretty good for movies. Maybe the occasional nap. It's a bit hard to create a community of over 100 people, though, so we'll do what we can. Does everyone have a piece of chocolate yet? Are you chocolated? Can I use it as a verb? Okay, good. Who does not have a chocolate? Please raise your hand. Oh, my goodness. Was it just not on? Not on. Okay. Next time I'll bring 5 bags instead of 2 for efficiency's sake. No, there's more. Are we out? Does Sophia have more?
What do we have?
What? There you go. Okay, here we go. How many people? Everybody over here is chocolated? Oh, we have 2 missing. Just 2? Usha, just 2. Najib? Thank you. If you didn't get the type that you like, I'll get you one after. All right, has everybody got chocolate? I know, it's hard to.
We're redesigning this whole parliament.
I'll get you extra break. Okay, now, your task. Does everybody still have their chocolate uneaten? Okay. Your task is this. It's going to be much harder than I anticipated because of the layout of this room, but you'll do it, I know. Your task is to find someone else who picked the same chocolate as you. But wait, not yet, wait. It has to be someone you have never spoken to before. And you are going to interview this person, and you are going to ask him or her 3 questions and 3 questions only, okay? Those 3 questions are, what is your name? Where do you come from? Please tell me one thing about yourself that I wouldn't know by looking at you. Tell me a surprise. Do you sing in the shower? Were you a college athlete? Do you eat nothing but dessert? Right? Tell us one thing we wouldn't, well, maybe the dessert one we would know by looking at you, but find one person who has the same chocolate you have never spoken to before and interview him or her with those 3 questions, please. Go ahead.
Okay, if we can't find a matching chocolate, just find someone who you do not know.
Will be up here and then all
This one? This
one, this here.
So that means we want some people to come stand here. So it's like a nice kumpulan. Yeah. I'll get it.
My MC will announce this here.
So they announce first and then I will try to get the people to come down.
So the press conference is actually just in this building, but first first floor. Take one lift up.
Yeah, but I am going to just pop in for a bit and run off because I'm more worried about making sure that. Although I think the 10 million and
What's that?
the press conference, hopefully the 10 million allocated for childcare space. And also that the parliament is also going to start again childcare. And we're kind of what we're going to see. Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's pros. I mean, they're pros, they all know what to say.
Oh, I don't think we need a script. Finished? Khalas?
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, when you finish your interviews, please feel free to eat your chocolate and grab a seat.
Actually, they can remain where they are because if you want them to come forward, no?
I think, what's that?
Yeah. MC? Yeah.
Hang on. Let's let them finish.
Get it here. Get it here. So after this, we're going to do the photograph, right?
Yes, I will call upon everyone for that.
That's great.
So we want to invite some people in the front.
Let's double check with Sophia because the protocol changed while we were back there.
Sophia? Sophia?
I have a horn. Am I allowed to use it in Parliament? It's okay or no? It's okay.
The photographs now, how are we doing? Are we still getting everybody?
They want them to stand here. Apparently, it's where they always
Stand here.
Like,
Okay.
okay.
Are they okay? Yeah.
Actually, we have a bell here, you know?
So can I do this? It's more fun.
All right.
What's that?
That's a little irritating.
I know. It's meant to get people's attention, but
It's
without
not.
being like an animal. Yeah, clearly. It's one of the few attention getters that isn't rude in most burgers. Because people associate it with ice cream.
Oh, that's correct. Not as bell.
Okay, everyone, if I could encourage you to please finish your interviews and grab a seat. Feel free to eat your chocolate if you have not already done so.
We sit back in our seats.
Yes, grab a seat. Grab a seat when you finish your interview. Thank you very much, everyone. Cool. I hope you had the chance to meet somebody new.
Will they have to move for the group photo?
What's that? For movement purposes, and I think the MC's calling it. Did you say to her about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Call it, but I'm not very clear now. You want everybody sitting this facing this way?
Where do we want everybody, Sophia?
They could gather, but the VIPs will sit there and they'll gather behind the veil.
Okay. That's
They
the
will
plan?
just sit there. They will continue sitting there.
They'll continue sitting here.
Okay. So who
People
is...
can't stand in front of us. Who can't stand in front of them?
I would prefer that, but they'd be
So what's the instruction?
So should we put someone aside, stand next to the speaking, like behind and
So no one is here. Ah.
So everybody's in the back?
yeah,
Standing.
behind. So we could put someone aside,
So everybody behind.
Am I going to usher them in, or who's ushering them in? Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you had a chance to meet somebody new and had a chance to experience some of the impressive backgrounds in this room and perhaps a few surprises. At this stage, I'm going to invite you to something a little bit more than a small piece of chocolate. We have a tea break scheduled, but before we go, we need to get your photograph. So first of all, can I once again thank everyone for their time and their dedication to this conference. We are really looking forward to your contributions. And at this stage in the proceedings, may I turn it over to the MC, please?
Thank you so much, Shannon and Ivy, for the chocolated introductory. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon His Excellency Speaker and all distinguished guests to the front for a group photo. Lastly, the first session of this program will begin at 11:40 a.m. and the first session will be held in this hall. Refreshment is available at the lobby area. Should anyone require any assistance, the Secretariat will be around to assist. Thank you.
So can everyone please come and stand behind and around here? Behind the VVV. Stand up, because then it's a bit more. Otherwise you look so. We're surrounded by these are the VIPs. We know that.